Hello, Nubia. I'd like to continue our series on unleashing the great pyramid power of the Nubian mind. And as I went through this analysis here that I'm about to display to you, it's amazing when solving a problem for one group of people goes to solving a problem for all groups of people. And that's predicated in the magic of 3, the magic of 30%. Maintenance, process, mathematics, and procedures, this analysis has predicated into using intellectual and genius force to resolve a problem in present day. It appears, after analysis, that in order to bring electrical energy rates down for everyone in the country, to reduce the strain on the electrical energy system in the country, to reduce the scourge and detriment of data centers, although needed and required by the Amazons and Googles of the world, to put something that's detrimental in its present form and to cause it to benefit everyone simply by moving data centers from rural locations and moving them into the inner city, where there's ambient cooling for all. One of the things I wanted to say here in regards to the electrical energy industry, their main problem here today is that they have to build power stations in order to keep up with this accelerated adage of consumer energy load onto the grid by power stations. Now, I need to explain to you what the normality is. Therefore, you can see the abnormality of what has occurred. 40 years ago, when I was in the electrical industry, I used to work in system operator's office. In the system operator's office, we managed the flow of energy in and out of the Virginia power system by what we call tie lines. Okay, each one of those things are metered, like a meters on the side of your house. A tie line to CP&L, a tie line to Pepco, a tie line to AEP. They were all monitored, and what the objective was, because before Dominion Energy was BEPCO, Virginia Electric and Power Company, is that you had a generation system that was balanced between the generators, what they put out, and what the consumer energy load was. Okay, and that's a mixture of nuclear, high pressure, natural gas, fuel oil, coal, and hydro, and then in later years adding renewables, which is really kind of a pittance. It's just a waste of time because there's no pressure there, and the situation with storage is phenomenal. It's very, very difficult. But in intermixing this and trying to do what they've done with renewables and with the advent of data centers and EV, a change of transportation energy from fuel, as in liquid fossil fuels, to electrically generated or converted fuels, that has put a tremendous amount of energy consumer load, so much so that it has imbalanced the ACE. And currently, instead of 100% generation and being able to manage that in the Virginia Power Dominion Energy system or any other electrical system that these would forte, they've had to import power from, say, Tennessee Valley Authority, or even utilities as far away as Illinois, to bring power into the state and to, at the retail cost of power, not the wholesale cost of power, which they can control, but the retail cost of power, it has now added to the intermix. And as a result of that, since they do everything on an average, data centers have got the advantages of having the increased power, but the rate increases have been transformed and transferred over to you. Now, the way to resolve this, doing all the math, going back to just a moment, 30%, okay? We understand that if you use aquatic planetary intelligence, API, not AI, okay, and you move the equipment from data centers in rural areas into the inner city, you not only don't need drinking water to cool them because of the ambient stability of the underground earth inside cities, okay? You don't need nearly the electrical load, okay? The electrical load is what's killing us, okay? They had, because of data centers, had to increase their load without the forethought and the time to build power stations to compensate for this load. So until they build a power station and they put it back into their inventory and they are able to go back to wholesale generation as opposed to buying retail, when it's like if you have a contract and Virginia or Dominion Energy has a contract with the state of Virginia, they must provide the power. If they ask for it, they must provide it, okay? Even if they don't have it, they've got to do what they have to provide it. In this case, they've had to buy it outside their system, or they would use combustion turbines or whatever. And at one time, before this data center play, Dominion Energy was able to remain profitable effortlessly, because not only did they have great crews and maintenance and that sort of thing, and a professional workforce, they had an electrical battery called Bath County Pump Storage, which, by the way, is where the conduction force generator was first developed unknowingly, and then has been buried in the earth for the last 40 years by being flooded underneath an electrical battery. But during the construction, conduction force generation, which is what causes this ambient cooling effortlessly, no moving parts, no mechanical means, and it bypasses drinking water, or byproducts drinking water, it makes all the difference in the world to bring these things in, because now all of a sudden Dominion Energy is profitable because they don't have to go out here and buy this and waste their money here. They're barely breaking even because of this, and because of the location here. Once you bring a data center from the rural area into the city, you help the public utility rebalance its profit matrix, drops it back to where it can comfortably make a profit, comfortably do maintenance and service on their systems or whatever, gives you a rate decrease by going from here to here. But this also for the city and for everything that was on that drinking water system. You go from a 4% reserve, and because of the byproduct and less use here, you go into 30%. Remember I said 30% is the magic number. One last thing here. When you bring data centers into the city, you bring in a tremendous amount of revenue as far as taxes on the equipment, as well as other advantages, because you are not compensating for this consumer energy load. But you take the children of the city, and you induce hope into their lives. You change everything when you just redo this. But it starts out with the most expensive industry in the country, energy, now gets a 30% cut on their expenses, and it rebalances their books, rebalances their systems so that everyone can do well once the data centers are placed in the right place and the water supply is brought back to normal and the electrical system is rebalanced once more.